I'm live. Ooh. And good evening. This is your Sensei Al Bob, and this is your Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob program on YouTube. And it's the day after Valentine's Day, and this morning I was talking about friendship. The whole program was about friendship, and John was part of it, and that was a good example of friendship. And then I've been thinking most of the day about what we should talk about this evening. And friendship is one of the roots of the meaning to life. Why are we here, right? And then I started to ponder on the two, the tree of life, and that there's the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life, right? And when you look at these symbols, and they're in every culture we have, I mean, as far back as you go, you see the tree is a symbol. And within Hebrew and Kabbalah, basically, Hebrew has 22 letters, right? And those letters can be transposed into numbers, and those words then give you equations. And Hebrew, when looked at through this process, gives you an insight into Kabbal's tree of life, which is a metaphor for genetics, and where we came from genetically, who made us, why were we made. And because there are these two trees, a tree of good and evil, the tree of life. Within the construct, when you go look at the glyphs in the pyramids in Egypt, and there aren't three pyramids in Egypt, there are 22, just like there are 22 chromosomes in the human beings. And in the species of Homo sapiens sapien, the two genders, male and female, have the same 22 chromosomes. The only different chromosome they have is the X or the Y chromosome. So pretty much human beings are one species. And when we are, fertilized as a zygoblatt, and we're in our mother's womb attached to its wall and getting blood, and we're becoming a fetus, in those 3 to 6 weeks, we are all female. And that is the primary gender of Homo sapiens sapien. And a few nights ago, I spoke on this, and basically during our evening meditation, we went to all went to our superconscious mind, our sanctuary of our own choosing, and went into the pond or the lake of the Great Link, where all our relations are linked together. And we walked. First we started swimming, and then we walked on top of the lake into the island of, the female warriors, the Amazons. And we had an experience there, right? And again, I will not take up the time of this evening to speak of that experience. You can go back and watch it, and I would suggest that every one of you go back and start watching these, because everyone is different and everyone has akashic and sacred and alchemical hidden metaphors, right? On my curriculum vitae, there's a section known as where I am the bard of metaphor. And I got to it through understanding the dynamics of Hebrew and the Kabbalah. And that is all bards of metaphor. So we are living, again, I started this program I started in May. I started my channel in May, and from, May, whenever, until mid-October, I was out in the deep green. So I had no exposure, I had no internet like I have here. And that's why I've been doing 2 shows a day, because it's very easy. I just hit the button and I go live and I do a show. Whereas when I did it there, I had to put whatever I did on my phone's memory, and then I had to go to the library and download it onto the internet. And they had real slow internet. And a 5, 10, 20-minute little thing I would do would take, 2 or 3 hours to upload in the library. And I would go in the library, and the librarian would let me leave my phone in a drawer in her desk while it was uploading, while I ran errands and stuff and went to lunch and did things like that. And I'd come back before the library closed and get my phone. And that was a bit tedious, and this is a lot easier, and that's why I'm putting down. I'm almost have 400 shows, right? So I suggest that all of you, at your leisure, go view these, right? As if you do, your ability to connect and go deeper and deeper into the tools that I've shown you as my adepts of the cadre, you will get better at this, right? That all of these shows are tutorials, right? And I'm leaving them for all of you, so I urge you all to take them into the digital format that you put them on your hard drive of your laptop, your computer, put them in the cloud on your whatever, just because I would love it if you guys were to put it down and, be the library of these shows. I would really like them to be all over the place, right? That more and more people could see them. Because I have no idea how long I'm going to be around, but, I'm pushing, next year. I'm in my 70th year. And, and I've had some serious, medical issues, and my endocrinologist tells me I'm the healthiest dead guy he knows. The guy who takes care of my legs, he can't believe I'm walking. Now these, and how do I do that? I do it through intent. I do it through my consciousness's free will. And so the whole dynamic that of the 2 trees of life and of the knowledge of good and evil, these are our legacy of humans. And you have to realize humans aren't just on this earth. They are all over the solar system, because we are one species that was blessed and given a free will. Not all species have a free will. So our universe is Luciferian, right? It is Lucifer was the number one angel in heaven. And then when love's co-creation created this consciousness with a free will, Lucifer lost his shit, and he broke heaven. And by doing so, he created this universe. That was the Big Bang. His petulant child outcry created this universe. And so, he, rather be king here in this illusion world than to go back and serve love's co-creation. But he did not have a free will, but he did have an ego, right? And lots of other species don't have a free will, but they have, self-awareness, consciousness, and ego. And often those three go together when they are not within the construct of service to love's co-creation. When they're let loose, that's when you get evil, And so even though our total universe that we live in here is a Luciferian thing, it's still, because it was created by, Lucifer was created by love's co-creation, it's still a creation of love's co-creation. And it has, again, a hidden metaphor of reason, why it's here. What are we doing here? And what we're doing here, this is the sandbox. This is an environment that we, all our relations, are given the opportunity to learn outside of the protection. We're always protected by love's co-creation. When we're in, as the singular artist in the first person, as the savage, we're always, protected by love's co-creation. But we are given the opportunity to be challenged, and that's what this life is about. This life isn't about, material wealth, eating gumdrops and marshmallows all day long and never gaining any weight, and having as much sex as you want, because sex is simply a biological dynamic of our avatar, because our soul is eternal, but our avatar has a limited life. And you go to the Egyptian scroll of all the kings, and before the great flood, those kings lived 20, 30, 40, 60, 100,000 years, right? And in the Bible, those guys who started begatting, basically were living 1,000 years, 900 years, And what happened was, through the illusion, the Luciferian universe, we were diluted, right? Now, the tree of life, why that is kept from us, that is the mathematical formula of living forever. I mean, it's really, aging is just a process of biological, chemical process of exposure to, the toxins of this illusion, right? And most of them are emotional toxins that take their toll. So no matter what you eat or how much you work out, unless you are emotionally and spiritually balanced, that's going to take its toll, right? And that's why, no matter how screwed up you are, I mean, I've died 6 times, and I'm still alive, because emotionally and spiritually, most of the time, I'm awake and balanced. And so 80% of the time, I'm awake. 20% of the time, I'm a habitual moron, So, I try and do better. And every day and every way, I take the piece of the earth and I make it stronger with love's co-creation. And that's why I do these these little chats, these YouTube shows. And it's not for fame and fortune because I'm sure not monetizing this. There's we're moving towards 300 of the cadre, and I think that I'm way more appreciative of quality over quantity. Okay, I just hit the button. There you all are. Okay, it's Uncle Fugnuts. Evening, Twitchy. How you doing, Twitchy? Just keep sticking things on those thumb drives until they're filled up, and then send them off to my PO box. And you're doing a great job, Twitchy. Keep it up. I really look forward to seeing your art. Jane, hello. Tate, I haven't seen Al for a week. Have missed any good? Well, Tate, you can always go and watch them. They're all there. And I've gone back to the very beginning, and the early ones that I had technical limitations, they're not so bad either. They're actually kind of fun. Say some of you are good. And, a few of you, I was talking about Science Fiction Theater 3000, and a few of you have actually done that, meaning played one of my shows on a screen off their laptop, and then taken their phone and done. They stood in front of the screen with me behind them, and it's they're making, you know, fun. They're making what they got out of it. They're really so. The more you can take what I have, and then co-create it into something even more interesting, I'm all up for it. Is interested in me. I just added me on Facebook. Okay. Yes, Nitty Grit. Oh, okay. See, I'm like, your Dutch uncle, your sensei who can't, unless I write it down, I can't keep the class to, but I know all of you energetically, that's for sure. Infinity. It's good to see you, Infinity. The live show from Tijuana. Ah, yes. Anyway, so I was, after yesterday being Valentine's Day, and I basically wanted to, say, hey, it's not one day of the year, it's 365, 724, right? That's the love that we share. Yeah. John and I do have we're like Laurel and Hardy or Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis. And, he's my friend. Every time he kind of goes off the reservation, I understand. And that's another thing I'm talking about tonight is the fact that we are more than we seem to be. We are more than we are told what we are. We have a history that's longer than 6,000 years. Homo sapiens sapiens been around 1 billion years. We were manufactured, right? At least our avatars were. and we are somebody's, you know, all of those Elohim, all of the space gods, they manufactured us for all kinds of reasons, not just, to be slaves digging up dirt, but for other reasons. And the powers that shouldn't be, the hidden hand, the sock puppets, all of those folks. If you got, do any of you know what the Georgia Stones are? Have any of you gone there? It's about 30 miles outside of Atlanta, and was placed there before they built I-85. There was just this little teeny dirt road going there, and they put this big, gigantic kind of thing out in the middle of the woods in Georgia. And then they put in I-85 and 70 something else and a few other, as Atlanta became big. And bingo, right along one of those interstates, there is a exit to the Georgia Stones about 30, 40 miles outside of Atlanta. And you go read them, it's like the Ten Commandments. But one of the first ones, it says, okay, Earth is, everybody's, we're all one, kind of everything I say, except they say we need to kill off 98% of humanity. There should only be, 50 million humans left on Earth, and then everything will be fine. No, then everything will be able to be controlled by the hidden hand. I mean, and they're getting a little sketchy because they expected that to have happened by the time they put the interstate in 30 years ago. We're still here, So, again, nothing is as. Don't believe anything. Especially don't believe anything I tell you. I'm just your Sensei Al Bob. I'm just your griot telling you a story. I'm not saying any of this is true, or my God, you gotta, bow down to me. This is a religion. No, no, no. Oh, this is no, no, no. It's none of the above. No, I'm just your friendly Sensei Al Bob. Maybe. Oh, Infinity. You need to talk to me more on that. On the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Because the people who have been part of this channel for a long time, and there were a lot of people who came, oh, we have to get rid of that, we need to get, and I said, no, we need to listen to everyone, and a number of the folk who were considered, oh, they shouldn't be on this channel, became some of the best, right? And the folks who were obviously a troll of some sort, they left because everyone just talked to them with love. So I like to think of our channel as a no-wrench channel. But I would love to have a conversation with you, Infinity. Is that your name? Yeah. Infinity. Infinity at, just give me a message at thedudeawake42@gmail, and give me your phone number and we can talk. Anybody who leaves me their phone number, I'm always happy to be part of it, right? Decide to stop watching the and trying to channel I need to get back in the real world. Okay. What's the real world? So, Infinity, Joker, and Mutate. I haven't really noticed you guys, Sarah, Uncle Fugnuts, do you know these guys? The Joker, Infinity, Nitty Gritty. Do you know any of these folks, Sarah? Oh, can I know what it's all about? Well, Joker, what it's about is love's co-creation, that the only true thing that exists is love's co-creation. And the what is considered the material world is an illusion, right? And it was occurred during Lucifer's war in heaven, right? That's the breaking of heaven, right? And that conflagration caused a energetic explosion known as the Big Bang. And up until then, time didn't exist, and so linear time is an illusion. London, oh, I love London. I like spiritual YouTube channels. Oh, good. Well, welcome aboard, Mute. Well, it's actually keeping me warm. But yeah, you know, the red has always been one of my favorite colors. That and blue, the purple swirl on the ceiling. Boop, boop, boop. And Joker, you can just call me Sensei. And like I said, anyone who wants to have a private conversation, get a hold of me at thedudewake42@gmail. And anyone new can go to, I have a publishing, Griot Publishing, and you just go online to look at xratted.blogspot.com. And I have one of my novels up there. I have 26 novels. I'm writing 2 more. And it's only 3/4 of a novel because the last quarter, I didn't want to overload people. So I have, I don't know, 200 or 300 pages up there, and they're broken up in cuts, like chapters, but they're really short stories that interconnect, right? And you can read them. You don't have to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can read 6 and then 3 and then 4 and 5 and 2 and 1. You can read them in any different direction because they're all shamanic exercises. I mean, they're stories, and that's why I'm, the bard of metaphor. So they're stories, and that's what a griot does. It tells the story that the listener listens to and gets understanding. Velvet Underground, John Cale, my buddy. The New York Dolls, they were okay. But John was the best. He still is. There's a lot of great music out there. If you like those, you would love Gil Scott-Heron, right? Miles Davis, Joni Mitchell. And Joni Mitchell is a true, what the original, is the Aboriginal artist in the first person, right? The savage. And all the great artists are that. They have this, the person who did that first drawing on the cave, that is the Aboriginal artist in the first person. And other people, David Bowie, people of that folk, Jimi Hendrix, those are all artists in the first person. And those are people who co-create with love. I met Gil Scott-Heron 3 different times, but not in, like, because I worked in nightclubs and I was the electrician. And, I just happened to be there and there was a bad buzz. And I, went over and kicked the circuit breaker box and everyone's amplifiers sound much better. And I met him, right? He kind of looked at me. He was like, well, that's one interesting white guy. And I said, hey, I'm not a white guy. I'm an African American that's melanin challenged. And that was like in, the late 70s. And he laughed and I went on my way. And I met him 2 other times in a similar circumstance. And And he would go, "You're that guy," and I go, "Yep." And but we never like sat down and because he was always so busy, he was like always creating, always, right? And I was never at that place where he could, relax, right? And I was always going someplace else to fix something else, right? And that's why I stopped being Mr. Fix It. For many years I was Mr. Fix It. I'd fix everything, right? People, machine situations, political structures. And I realized that I really, I was, more than half of those events. I did what one of my great teachers taught me, Madame Ogle Kluwer taught me. You should not get involved unless, doctor, do no harm. Don't get involved unless you can bring forth a positive outcome, right? Within the structure of not protecting the innocent, you know. And the third one was don't get involved unless you can learn something important, you know. You can sacrifice certain things if you're going to learn something important, but you can't jeopardize anyone's safety, and you can't do any harm. So those are like what's his name? Laws of robotics, which are a joke because there we got robots out there killing, maiming, destroying. Anybody in the Mid East who hears the little drone overhead, and then their school gets blown up by a Hellfire missile. That's a robot killing human beings. So anyway, back to the main drift of tonight is, and we're into it for 31 minutes and 51 seconds, is this whole motif of what's going on right now. And like I said, I started this in May, and those shows up to October 31st were out in the deep green. And then from the 31st, I came back to the Hill, where we have really good Wi-Fi here, and I can do 2 shows a day. And the library's down there, and there's a few restaurants I go to that have really good Wi-Fi. So this is an environment that I can do these shows. And these shows, because the soon as I got here in October, I started doing a show called 40 Days and 40 Nights, meaning I was looking at, because one of my tools in my toolbox as a scholar is I look at trends. I'm a demographer. And I look at trends that go back for millions of years. I have friends and teachers who used to dig things up and bore holes in ice and see what happened 20 million years ago. So I was exposed to those kind of trends. And they are, I don't know if you've ever, biorhythms. Everything has a biorhythm. Even the planet, the solar system, the basic universe, right? And so, and in a biorhythm, everything's a frequency, right? And in our limited 5 sense world, we see things your basic XY coordinates, right? And but in reality, things are not Hertzian; they're scalar, and especially other frequencies. So the tree of life is mathematically our genetic structure. And what's interesting is that our our DNA is a you know there's digital and analog, and our DNA is analog. But when we put it, look at it in the DNA structure, it becomes digital. So when we do things like use CRISPR to cut up our DNA, and like the Chinese right now are going at it commercially, but the Nazis went at it, in the 30s. You know, once they started putting people in camps, they kind of divided them up into racial groups because those were their guinea pigs and slaves. So nothing is as it seems to be. The the Nazis has this thing called the Glock or the bell, and it was their when you work on figuring out something else, you have a test bed, right? And that was their test bed, looking for 0 point energy, anti-grav, and time travel. And our version of that was the Eldridge, the Philadelphia experiment, or the Rainbow Project. And both of those projects tore holes in the dimensional fabric. And the dimensional fabric, because, like I'm saying, it's on this biorhythm, right? And so it looks, when you put it on graph paper, it looks like this, right? But when you look at it at multidimensional, it looks more like. So when they did that experiment, especially both of them did it to the astrology, and when the biorhythm of our solar system and the sun primarily was like this, that's when both the Nazis and the Americans did their multi-dimensional experiment and tore, and they knew they were tearing rifts in it, right? And so they punched holes when the accordion was like this, so that accordion, that hole was through billions of years. And since that time, they have been playing with going back and forward in time, but they can only pop out at those specific moments when the accordion was like this. And not only have we gone into other dimensions via this, but and not only did it, puncture holes in our solar system's accordion, but it also did it to our sun. And by doing it to our sun, it did it to the whole friggin' universe. So that was like screaming, "Here we are!" So all these creatures that have been here, right? And they, made us. And because we were here experiencing in the garden, our free will. And that's why they came and did all these things, because not all these creatures that Lucifer brought forth by destroying heaven have free wills, right? And so for 16 billion years, they've gotten pretty wacko. And so we're right now. So I started doing, the 40 days and 40 nights, because I saw that there was this window of opportunity, the accordion, that hole is coming to a place where we all can go through that window of opportunity. Not just, high-powered demons and magicians and warlocks and things like that, but simply the children of love's co-creation. And this is an opportunity when we can pop the bubble of Lucifer's universe. Now, lots of shit's going on. There are all kinds of galactic, space wars that make, Star Wars and that, Galactica TV show look like a joke. And it's, that's the really crappy shit that goes on, around us. And one of the most crappy things that is going on that no one's kind of talking about, this little pedophilia, Pizzagate, blah, blah, blah. And no one wants to say, don't say that. Basically, millions of people go missing, right? And this Georgia Stones of, we got to get rid of 6 billion people. Well, you know, if you ever study what happened in Cambodia and what happened in Africa with the Hutu and the Tutsis, it's hard to kill a lot of people, with a gun or a bomb or, look at the Russians and the Nazis fighting. The Nazis killed, I don't know how many million, 20 million Russians, 300,000 Nazis killed 30 million Russians. How'd they do that? And how they did it is that the Nazis got the atomic bomb first, and they used it on the Russians. And then they gave it to us, and we used it on the Japanese. Again, don't believe anything I say. Go. There's a guy named Joseph P. Farrell. Go read him. There's a guy named Joseph Campbell. Go read him. Mr. The guy who did Lucas. He sat at the feet of Joseph Campbell for a year, and Joseph was his griot and just told him stories, and Lucas wrote them down, and that is Star Wars. Our moon is the Death Star. All the stuff that went on, why Mars got obliterated was that there was a planet in the mineral solar system, which was the beautiful one. We were more like a swamp. And they had a little disagreement, or they did a unauthorized experiment, just like where Superman came from, and it blew that planet apart. And chunks of it went flying all over the place. Part of the chunks came flying down on Earth, where we were just a swamp and the dinosaurs were, and got rid of them. And then it tore. Mars was a very nice place too. And there's a scar across Mars that goes from one end to the other. And this big chunk came flying through Mars, took out its atmosphere. So these things are right in front of us, right? And the dark forces of the hidden hand, which is just like, Marvel's Captain America, Hail, 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 Hydra, and that's kind of what it is. Those movies, those first two Captain Americas were right on, exactly what it is. After World War II, German people bombed in the Stone Age. Nazis win the war. They've been out in Antarctica for a good 20 years finding all this alien technology there. And they hooked up with the reptilians who gave them the 411, and also these darker forces, which the girls with long hair of the Thule Society was talking to through autonomic writing. Again, don't believe anything I say. I'm just a griot telling you a story. Go look this stuff up. So, when we hit it's now about 42 minutes and 42 seconds. And when we get close to an hour, we're going to go into state. And we're going to go through your Akashic record. Visit all of this. So, I hope our new Infinity, I hope you stick around for this. Mute, I hope you stick around and, experience going into state, Thing about Joni Mitchell, her album, she's like pushing whatever, and she's still smoking cigarettes, and she still looks great, and she's virtually every year she kicks out an album that will. There's an album that has a song on it called Doggy Dog, and there's another one called Ethiopia. She did it in the 90s, and it's talking about right now. It's like. Scotland, the Brave on loop. Okay, fuck nuts. Braveheart, yep. All we ask is for freedom. I have got my girlfriend's napkin. What I was rambling about before it was someone 15 years younger than me wants to date me. Well, if they're cute, go for it. If they're legal age, no problem. If they're smart and fun and not hung up on stuff, that's the person you want to be with. That's how you should gauge whoever you want to hang out with is not their age, but whether they make you smile, make you scratch your head and go, never thought of that. Well, if you don't feel comfortable, you have to figure out why are you feeling not comfortable. I mean, this is a good, whenever you're pushed into a position that you're not comfortable, that's a good place because it allows you to see things that you normally wouldn't see. Yep, it's not wrong, then you should do it. But I try to use everything. I give, my grandma had 28 rules, um, and she taught me how to go by them. And then I had other teachers who gave me numbers of rules, and like I said, Madam Ulla Kluver gave me three. Doctor, do no harm. Don't get yourself involved if you can't have a positive outcome and protect the innocents. And the third one is don't get involved unless you can learn something. So it sounds like you're in a position where you can do no harm, have a positive outcome, and learn something. Russian winter. Yes, buddy. Yes, Infinity, I can. But you guys are genetically, wired for that. Isn't your blood vodka? I know that's I'm sure you heard that joke before. And some people love the snow. I'm not so much. I want to be in a warm place. Infinity, what am I looking up? Russian winter. Okay. Oh, is that a book? Oh, I thought you were saying you were in Russian winter. I will look that up. Russian winter. Okay. Yes, mass awakening, right? And that's kind of what I was talking about. The 44 days and the open window of opportunity is that, and that's why the hidden hand and the powers that shouldn't be and the sock puppets are all freaked out because they expected us to be dead by now, but we're not. But we're waking up. And after they just tried to had 20 straight years of war, and because that's usually how they got rid of the folks who were waking up. The Boer War, the Hundred Years' War, Civil War, Spanish American War. The World War One, World War Two, Korean War, Vietnam War. These were all the other, and there are loads of other wars that Yugoslavia, Northern Ireland. These are all wars that we put there to kill the innocents and get rid of the folks who want to do positive change. Right? And when you're young and your mind gets wiped, your heart is the brave heart, and is part of the best part of you from all your other past lives. And so that's why you're when you're young and innocent, and that's why they don't. They didn't even, when Vietnam came around and my draft board finally caught up to me, they had enough info on me to go, Al, we don't think we can charge you with a gun. And I was like, you know, and they said, how would you like to do alternative service? And I said, sure, sign me up. And that's one of the major things that changed my life because I went and first worked down in the South for Vista, and then they said, "Oh man, we don't want you. You're not a bureaucrat. You're making too much change here. You're involving no." So they sent me back up north to New York, and I worked at Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn, a VA hospital, and that's what made me a healer, and exposed me to my sensei. My boss got me to live with a Japanese Shinto priest for a year in Putney, Vermont, right? And he taught me a great deal. And then I studied with a Chinese herbalist and acupuncturist in New York City. I studied with a whole other groups of different, I went out to Davenport, Iowa, where this great, one of the last schools of osteopathy. I studied osteopathy. So I put all those things together, and then I lived with indigenous people, And I put it all together and made my own protocol where I'm, a healer that practices shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemy. And I can only thank the U.S. Draft Board for teaching me all of that. My index finger, pinky slightly bent inward. Yes, I read palms too. Not really. Mm-mm. Let's see. Your pinky. Let's see. Which hand do you want me to see? Index finger. Of your pinky slightly bent inwards. Well, let's see. I'll show you this hand. Can you see the whole thing? I'll come back a second. Yeah, I do cold readings, and one of my tools is tells, body language, and palmistry. Boop, boop, boop. And I'm Aquarian, and I like long walks on the beach and every kind of music, as long as it's good. So, Infinity, what do you think? Let's see the other side of my hand. I was here a few years ago who had a very strong, calming energy ever since I wanted to be like him. Well, good. Calm is good because my sensei, who was my Shinto priest, he taught me jujitsu, but he also showed me spiritual jujitsu. And one of them, if you read the Art of War by Sun Tzu, you realize his whole thing is about shut up, slow down, use your senses to see what's going on, and get out of the way. You're a Taurus. I love Tauruses. They make great friends. They're really sturdy, people. The Infinity, you can call me Sensei. And that's no highfalutin term. It just in Japanese means teacher. Too highfalutin. No, it's really interesting. Um, if you meditate, your the smell of your body, whether you got BO, your fart smell, or your comes from this internal self. It's not, yeah, I got lots of bits of cheeseburgers and whatever I had for breakfast stuck in my beard until I pick it out. But it's good because, if I'm hungry, I just kind of go, but your smell comes from your aura. So if you're meditating a lot, if you're viewing yourself, if you are being self-reflective, well, you're going to smell okay. You know, I have it's hard for me to take a shower here because there's no heat, and when it's cold, it's a little cold getting in that shower. And the guy who I stay here, I sold my school to. He has a hard time with seeing me naked. And I try real hard, even if I'm covered up. You know, it's the thought of it is like, ugh. So so I maybe take if he leaves or he's not here, I'll take a shower. So maybe I take a shower at best once a week, but normally every 2 or 3 weeks. And your body doesn't need a shower. Doesn't need. I love showers. I love baths. I love a jacuzzi. But yes, the bird's nest. That's right. That way I have friends. Hey guys, how you doing? Birds. Hey, how you doing? Thank you, Infinity. So, we're not quite an hour, but what we're going to go see tonight is there is a Let's see where we're going to go tonight. We're going to go for a few places. We're going to go into state. I'm going to show everyone how to get into your Akashic record and evacuate all your anger into your record, and then go into your lodge, and then go down into your garden, and then go into the tree of knowledge. And we go through the roots, because the fruit can be problematic, but the roots are a path that we can follow. We're meant to. Just like if you look at the solar system, right? And you wonder, how do the planets, stay in their orbit around the sun? Because the sun has so much gravitational force, it should just suck all these planets in. It's not just the energy of us going around in a circle. No, what it is, if you take those orbits and you make a circle, right? And then you take that flat plane and turn it like this, it looks like when you take a tree and cut it, all the rings in a tree. So all our planets are in the ring of the tree of life. And that's why the roots are a safe place for us to travel through, because they go through all time and space. They cut across all these lines. Right. So we're going to go first to, go into state through our breath, and then we're going to, evacuate all the angst and go through our superconscious mind, our sanctuary of our own choosing, and maybe we'll go up to our house, so our new guests can see our house and see their own new lodge, and then through the garden of our lodge, we'll go into the tree of knowledge through there, and where I'll take you first is when humans were manufactured, right, by the fallen angels. And they were just trying to screw with our free will by giving us these avatars, our bodies, and putting us into this linear box of our material world, and giving us a history that would be like a chain around our neck, right? And then we're going to go through that accordion that they blew a hole through, right? And we're going to go see all the different times that the dark forces manifested the hidden hand and the powers that shouldn't be, and, give you the, the roll call of the usual suspects, of the sock puppets. So this will give, this evening, we'll try and do it in less than an hour, give or take, a really good picture of where we are right now. And you can see that these people are no more in control than Elmer Fudd or Wile E. Coyote, right? That's really the patron saints of the people who think they're so hot, whoop-de-doo, right? These fallen angels, they're not the real deal, They are demigods, They aren't Lucifer, they're not Satan, they're not any of those guys. They're sock puppets. So, what have you been saying every day? Let's see. And that's what we are, Infinity. We're onions, and we just keep peeling that skin away. Keep peeling it away, going deeper and deeper. And that's what meditation enables us to do. And for years I've been teaching people how to meditate, and people, oh, you can't meditate. Well, it's really easy. All you have to do is get people to breathe 20% more than they do normally through their autonomic system, and breathe out 30% more than they do normally. So you got this autonomic system that does all the stuff that if you had to think about it, you'd probably die. So, the manufacture of hormones and chemicals and breathing and your heart pumping and blah, 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 blah. But when you take control, when you assert your free will over your avatar, and that's how you can stay alive, right? That's how you cannot smell and not take a shower, And home to the roots we go. That's right, Dragon. And so everyone, get yourself into a comfortable position. Sit in a chair, lie down, do something so when your little squirrel in your cage of your Rolodex of a mind. See, you aren't your mind. Your brain is just a Rolodex, not even the CPU of your avatar is your heart. That's the most important. That's the thing that's connected. That's where that golden thread goes. And it goes from your heart chakra all the way up, out through your crown and up into your Akashic record, right? Through your imaginary mirror where you have dreams, right at the back of your eyelids where you have REM sleep. Your eyeballs are like zipping around when you're having a dream because that's the imaginary mirror where you see things. That's where you have your imagination, right? That's where you get your, oh, wow, that's a good idea. So, everyone get yourself comfy. I'm going to turn the bright light off. And don't cross anything. Don't cross your legs, your arms, or anything. Just put your arms at your side, your legs out straight. And just, sit in a chair, comfy. And get yourself in a place so when everything goes on autopilot, if you were standing up, you'd probably fall down. If you were sitting in a place where, gravity would take you out of the chair, you will go out of the chair. So, put yourself in a place where you're safe and secure, right? Okay? Okay. Ay, ay, ay. So, everyone, take that big breath in through your nose, feel it more, more, more. And as you breathe in more, what happens is your diaphragm lifts to expand your lungs, and then your air comes out, and then you breathe out, and more out, and more out, and more out, and more out. And the more you breathe that way, by breathing 30% out, the breathing in of the 20% will be a lot easier. And the more you breathe out, your body expels more toxins out of your body through your breath than any other way. And that's why smoking tobacco, it stops that process. Unless tobacco is the most spiritual tool. So you have to prey upon tobacco to, bring forth what you want. So see it clearly. Aho. I'm going to count to 3, and as I do, you go deeper and deeper and deeper into a state of conscious relaxation. And as you become more relaxed, all of the worries, all of the anxieties, all of the things you think about that don't mean anything, the bills, washing, this, that, and the other thing, none of that. How you look in the mirror, whether you need to shave or take a shower, do you smell, or blah, blah, blah. None of that matters. The only thing that matters, the only thing that's real, is love's co-creation, your connection to it. And you get straight there through meditation. So you're going deeper and deeper and deeper into a relaxed state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath, bringing in that 20% and breathing out that 30%. And as you do, you're breathing in the prana. The prana is the life force, the photonic light of love's co-creation. And that's why the powers that shouldn't be, the hidden hand, does everything to confuse your conscious free will of your connection to love's co-creation. That's the only way they can keep control of your avatar, by confusing you. But it's simple. Love cuts through everything. And, not like Eros, where you're like, oh, you gotta get laid. No, that's not love. Love is when you think about all of your relations, and that you don't think of them as the other. And when I say all your relations, I'm talking about all of them. The warm-blooded, the cold-blooded, the finned, the scaled, the feathered, the furred, all of them. And the only way we can bring back the harmony of love's co-creation is by popping the bubble of the Luciferian illusion of the material universe, that we think that's everything. It's not. And the only thing that can pop that is unconditional forgiveness and unconditional love. The only way you get there is by breathing that 20% in, breathing in that prana. As you breathe that prana in, it fills up your lungs. Filling up your lungs. Right? Mutate. Fill up your lungs. Breathe that 20%. Don't think of anything except what you're experiencing, right? No questions about things from the material world, because right now you're letting go of that. And that's why these questions are popping up. That little squirrel in your head is trying to, by breathing that 20% in and breathing out that 30%, all the toxins, from all those poisons that you eat, drink, smell, breathe in, get rained on, all of that stuff is eliminated by your breath when you breathe out. Because when you breathe in that prana, it is that energetic essence of love's co-creation. It creates life. It's what animates your ugly bag of water, your avatar, your mud puppet. Being a vegetarian or a vegan or, whatever is irrelevant, because you're breathing that prana in, and it fills up your lungs and all those little aeolas. And that's why if you habitually smoke, what you're doing, and you smoke crappy cigarettes, not, real tobacco, all those toxins clog up all those little philia of your iola, so you can't transmute that photonic love through your lungs, through the prana. But all of you, I can see energetically, have very nice lungs. So just breathe in, fill your lungs up 20% more. You're breathing good. And you will see in your imaginary eye that photonic light going into your blood. And it's, as the blood goes through your lungs, the prana gets transmuted into your iron of your blood. And as your blood goes down the veins, down the arteries, down the capillaries, instead of going blub, 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 it swirls against the wall clockwise. And then within that swirl, there's another swirl counterclockwise. And inside that swirl, there's another swirl going clockwise. And what is that? But it is the polyphase generator creating scalar energy, which is the carrier frequency of photonic energy. So you are breathing it in, and from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, you're energizing every cell of your body. And you're seeing every cell just being and you see the mitochondria around your cells, right? And when you see this and you're looking at the cell, look at the energy and how the pattern is. And it's a toroidal or torus. It's moving in that toroidal shape, just like, Our electromagnetic field around our planet is a toroidal field. It kind of comes out the North Pole, goes around, and comes back up the South. And on the other side of the same thing. That's a toroidal field. And by breathing in the Akashic energies of the prana and turning it into the scalar energy of photonic light in your body, you become and see, Lucifer is the light bringer, but the light he brought is that kind of milky, foggy, hazy illusion of light. This process that you're going through right now is transforming you into a photonic light being, right? And that is the being of your consciousness's free will that co-creates with love. And as my great mentor, Saint Germain would say, nothing can be made without love's co-creation. Everything else is an illusion. See it clearly. So you're going to take that and you're grounding yourself out through your chi. And so the prana comes from Father Sky, and your grounding is through your chi, through Mother Earth. And these are both the same. Just like I said that human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, the two genders, share all 22 chromosomes. And the 23rd chromosome that's different in them is their sex, whether X or Y. And that's irrelevant. It's only put there so the avatar can reproduce. That's the only reason. But otherwise, back in the beginning, we were all the same, And that's why I took you to the island of the Amazons to show you all that you were all women. You're all female. The male is the illusion. In the beginning, they didn't make Adam. They made Eve first. Sorry, Adam. So there you're seeing yourself in each cell of your body, a photonic, illuminated creature. And you see in your imaginary mirror right up here that it's getting brighter and brighter, that photonic light. And you shine that light like a flashlight into your Akashic record, which is your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind isn't where the boogeyman is or the monsters are. Nope, it is your library. Your Akashic library is the library of everything that your soul has done from the minute love's co-creation made that consciousness of free will, a timeless time ago. And you're shining that light into your library, and you're walking into your library, and way at the front of you, and that wall over there is this gigantic fireplace, and all those big bricks. What are they? No, they're not bricks. They're books. They are Akashic records, And then you see to the left of the fireplace, and that fireplace holds the eternal blue flame, and that's kind of the light that's on me is the eternal blue flame. See it clearly? And there it is up there in that swirl, that photonic swirl, right? The toroidal swirl. And, in front of the fireplace to the left are these very nice leathered easy chairs for guests. And then in front of that is your reading table, and there's a photonic light. And what photonic light does, it doesn't throw a shadow. Where the light in our world's all shadows, all illusion. When you don't see a shadow, that's when you know it's truthful, it's real. When there's a shadow, that's an illusion. See it clearly. And behind your reading table is your reading chair. And to the left of you is your librarian who brings you your Akashic records. And your animal totem next to your left of your librarian, and left to your animal totem is your guardian angel. So see your librarian very clearly as she brings you your Akashic record. Big, thick book, about a foot thick and about 2 feet by 2 feet, big, thick leather, all the bindings gold, And to the left of your librarian that you've seen very clearly is your animal totem. See your animal totem very clearly. And what your animal totem does is your griot. So you see things in your Akashic record. Now, you get information doesn't mean you understand it, right? Because you're kind of coming from this illusionary world where everything is a shadow, a lie, not true, right? But your animal totem will tell, just like me, I am your griot. I am your Sensei Al Bob, your friendly griot. I tell you stories that you kind of go, oh, I never thought of it that way. That's what your animal totem will tell you, right? And your guardian angel always has your back, right? Because you will be shown things that will scare you, right? Just like this show is going to show things that will scare you. Right? But you're safe. You got your animal, you got your guides, you got me, and you're going to be in environments that nothing can touch you. There's a gigantic protective field around this Akashic record, this library. See clearly. So, you're sitting down, your Akashic record is in front of you, you open it up, and I want you to take your right hand and put it on the empty right page of your Akashic record, and then take your left hand and put it on the left page, and then lean into your Akashic record. And I want you to see how you light up with that photonic light. I want you to evacuate, empty out all the fear, all the anger, all the hate, all the self-loathing, everything that sticks you into the illusion of this material world, this Luciferian universe. The whole frigging universe is a lie. This whole frigging universe of all its dimensions, not just, there's a gazillion dimensions. When Lucifer broke heaven, breaking heaven brought forth the Big Bang of this universe. That was the Big Bang, The cry and scream and the smashing of heaven was the Big Bang, of a petulant child. And the thing that will pop this bubble of a Luciferian illusion is love's co-creation. Everyone gets on the bus. Everyone gets to go home. And so everyone is here, and everyone can always watch these shows over and over again. And all you'll have to do is watch the show and go through this process of meditation, and you will be there. Even if it's not live. And that's why I'm asking you all to go back and see all of the other shows, because they all have value, and because every time I prepare a show, I put forth a shamanic energy into it. And we are in our Akashic records, and we are eliminating and evacuating our anger and frustrations and all of the above. And we're feeling all of the love of the cadre, of the adepts, and we are enjoying the song of the chorus in the chat, and we are fortified by the shamanic energy of love's co-creation through our illumination of every cell, through breathing in the prana and channeling that energy to every cell and healing every cell and grounding that out into our Mother Earth. And every day and every way we take the piece of the earth and we make it stronger. And our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without amen. As it was in the beginning, is now, And every day and every way we take the piece of the earth and we make it stronger with love's co-creation through the prana of our Father and the grounding into our Mother Earth through our chi. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our sinners now and the hour of death. Amen. Was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be. And every day and every way we take the piece of the earth and make it stronger with love's co-creation. Aho. See it clearly. And we have evacuated all the anger, all the self-doubt, all the fear. And we feel light as a balloon. And we get up from our reading table and we go over to the open door. There's the 9 doors, and the one door that's always open is the door to our superconscious mind, our sanctuary of our own choosing. And we go through that door and we bring our guides with us, our librarian, and our animal totem, and our guardian angel. And they love going here because it's like a vacation for them. And this, your superconscious mind is the most protective place, because this is where you're walking over. You went through the door, you put your hand on the railing, you went up the steps, you're going over a bridge between your subconscious mind and your superconscious mind, and that bridge is your id. And when you're at the top of the bridge, you're looking down in your sanctuary, you're overstanding, you're understanding. See it clearly. And you're walking down off the bridge of your id, and you walk into your sanctuary, and this is where love's co-creation exists with you. This is where the great creator of all things is there for you. There is no separation. There is no other. This is where, all of your relations are one. This is where the trees of knowledge and life are. This is where the great lake of the link is. This is your meadow where you can go onto your picnic blanket and relax like you've never relaxed before. See it clearly. And in front of you is your gazebo. And I want you all to walk up to your gazebo. And I want you to ask a question. First perceive, overstand all that you see. And a question will pop into your consciousness. And you will freely say it out loud. And then you will turn 180 degrees and there will be a consciousness in front of you. A person, a character, whatever that you need to speak to, and you will ask that entity that question, and as soon as you ask that question, that entity will give you the answer right back that you need to hear. So that question has to pop into your mind, but I'm going to give you just a little kernel of thought, and that is, we're looking at the whole kind of dynamic history of the falling angels and the creation of the illusion of the universe, and the creation of a linear time that doesn't really exist, and a history that doesn't really exist, and see how it's being used. And that's the question: how is this being used? And how can I understand this the best? And what perspective should I take from this point on as we take the journey through this, so I can really understand, I can grok what's going on. So when I come back to my avatar, I will have an ability that I didn't have when I left my avatar. See it clearly. You're going to transform. It's a night of transformation. They are the adepts, the chorus of the chat, and you are the shock troops of love's co-creation. And your weapon isn't a hammer or sword or a shield or a gun or a bomb or a missile. You are the weapon of love's co-creation. Through your love, through your compassion, through forgiveness. These are all the weapons that the shock troops of love's co-creation use. See it clearly. And you walk off your gazebo, and that's a stage that has steps up to it that people perform on in parks. And that's why you came from your meadow up those steps. You've come down, you've gotten the answer, and you've got this kind of, oh, exactly. Exactly. Any vehicle that you co-create with love is your weapon, right? Oh. And we might, as we are trying to create the alternative aesthetic, we might think of a better word than weapon. But for now, because that's kind of where we are at, we're at this conflict, and we have to end this conflict with love's unconditional forgiveness. So we'll figure out a better word than weapon, but this is just for us tonight, looking at it, getting a perspective, because that's what we're doing. We're parsing out the alternative aesthetic, right? Okay, and this is something that we all do together as a cadre, together as all our relations, but also individually, as our individual conscious of free will. And see, that's the essence of all our relations. So all these individuals that come together and make love's co-creation. Where the Luciferian universe of delusion of illusion is basically this mass of broken things that have a tremendous amount of fear of their, punishment, their ending, them being, pointed at as guilty and as evil. No. All of these creatures and entities that serve Lucifer, they all and Lucifer have to be forgiven and brought to the bosom of love's co-creation. That's how we're going to pop the bubble. So, I want everyone to walk over to a tree of knowledge of good and evil and look down at the roots, and there's the biggest root of them all, and there's a cut in it, and the golden light is coming up, the red flames are coming out, and the blue little bubbles are surrounding you and protecting you. And as you ease down that, by going in through the back door of the root, you are invisible to whatever angst or negative energy or violence or evil is there, because all of those things are illusions. So I want you to go to that moment when, Lucifer just lost his shit. When love's co-creation created that consciousness of free will, right? And that he broke heaven, and within that great explosion of anger and fear, the Big Bang occurred and made this universe. And it started to spread out. And I'm going to let you go into that swirl of energy. And you're all together. Everyone who is at this moment in that platoon of the shock troops of love's co-creation, you're all together. And all of your guides are right with you. And you went through the back door, so they don't even know you're there. But you can observe everything. I'm going to let you observe everything. See that swirl. And 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. And you have gone into, through the roots of the tree of good and evil, into that place that all that is conceived as evil through Lucifer's creation of this illusionary world, this universe, through the destruction of heaven, but it's still within the construct of love's co-creation. So everything that is here, even though it is an illusion, it has been put here or allowed to be here by love's co-creation, by the great creator. For our well-being, and that's, the whole construct or idea of reincarnation kind of makes sense, because if you have unlimited amounts of tries, and that's why your heart is pure and your mind is wiped clean. So you don't remember your past life, your past life, your past life, your past life, unless you go and look at it at your Akashic record, which you can do. You can look at it, where you came from. You can see what piece of stardust you came from, and all of the, when you went from stardust to dust mite to, daffodil to squirrel to whatever. All your incarnations you can see. And some are more, eventful than others. But they're all there for a reason. They are all those baby steps you're taking to ascend to your consciousness of free will. And here you are, in the classroom with Sensei Al-Bab, and hearing my griot stories, and you're being shamanically and alchemically transformed. Right? You're having a new frame, instead of that frame of illusion, you're having that frame of the shamanic, all of your relations. See it clearly. Breathing nice and deep. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. Your avatar is totally asleep, totally on automatic pilot. And you are traveled through your imaginary mirror into your subconscious, your library of your Akashic record. You have eliminated and evacuated all of your anger and fear, and you will go back at your leisure and look into your Akashic record and get all of the insights that are there for you to have, because that is the tool for your self-awareness. You do that 5, 6, 10, 15 times a day. And when you close your eyes, and when I go into state, I just close my eyes. Bingo, I'm there. Once I'm there, I'm there. And I can be there for a year and a half, and then my eyes open. It's only a second later here. And that's why I was such a good negotiator, and still am a very good negotiator, because I go into state and look at everyone's everything, realize exactly who they are and what I need to say to them to make them go, yeah, I need to sign this contract, right? So, see it clearly. And in everything you do, in every way and every day, you take that piece of the earth and you make it stronger through love's co-creation. And then you can do whatever, if you love to be an artist, and and everyone's an artist. Whether you're painting a painting, cutting carrots, brushing your teeth, there's an art for everything. And that's how I became a master. That's where when I became Mr. Fix-It, it's because I mastered everything I did to fix it. And the 3 things I was my foundation of being Mr. Fix-It was A, Dr. B, don't get involved unless I can bring forth a positive outcome and protect the innocent. And 3, don't get involved unless I can learn something. So those were my 3 stepstones, right? And then I gave up being Mr. Fix-It, because I realized at a certain point Everyone has to fix their own shit. You can be Mr. Fix It by being a good example. That's why I became Sensei Al Bob, because I can lead by example. Not lead by being the man in the spotlight, but lead by example, and let my adept cadre, you know, step up to their free will and to co-create with love's co-creation. Be the change. Exactamente. Yep, be the change you want to see. So, what things did you see while you were looking at the dark side? Exactly. All is as it should be. I mean, so people who are getting wigged out about, Donald Trump or the wars or the this or the that, yes, a lot of people die and suffer. But, it's hard to say this. Maybe they had, because I have a lot of life, you know? But I learned from every excursion into that fantasy world. And I stepped up to be that better person with baby steps. And there are a lot of innocent children who die every day. There's a great deal of horror that this, you know, um, hidden hand and powers that shouldn't be and sock puppets perform, because the only way they can do this is through really demonic acts, and that's the only way that they can manifest. And we went and saw Ares and war and what Ares did to people's psyches, right? And but when we step forth with through love's co-creation, that cannot have an effect, and we have a choice to leave, to leave once we die, or we can come back and help others. Right, 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 right. I mean, if you got it all, yes, and you don't really leave, you basically ascend. Like, well, we went to and saw the land of Shambhala, and all those folks were incarnate, right? And they, took a step up in their ascension and went into Shambhala, and there, there's still Nikola Tesla, there's still Madame Curie, there's still all of those people they were, and all the rest that got them to be those people. And you get to go to Shambhala when you sign up for doubling down on doing what you did for the betterment of mankind. And you're still in your physical form, you're still in that body, and you still have like one foot in this, illusionary world. And so there are a lot of choices. I mean, if you just go to the light and get sucked in, that's where, your goes into the washer and you get shot out again, right? And the more you do that aimlessly, the more you're just going to keep going in that thing, and you get stuck into a rut. But if you're conscious when you die, like I told you a number of times, I worked in the medical scene, and I was an EMT, and mostly what we did was scrape people off of highways. In the 3 years I was a fireman, all we did was go to one fire, but most of the things we did were heart attacks and car crashes. And so I was the EMT. I was the surgical EMT, meaning the person was smushed up. I put a line in, I put an airway in. I did all those things that are, relatively technical, and hooked them up to the machines that telephonically sent the data back to so they could prepare to what they needed to do to this person once we rolled them into the emergency room, and then through that triage into the operating room, emergency operating room, which was right there. And often I would be with a person all the way up to rolling them into the emergency operating room, because I had all of the stats on what they were when we found them, what we did to them. I would only there were really no there were certain medicines I could put into their IV. I would give them an IV, and there were certain things, but they all had to come from the hospital, meaning we had a number of drugs that we could use in that things and things against the cortisol and against. There are a lot of things you can do, to kill the pain, but it has to be documented, and the hospital has to say, okay, go and do this, and they write it down, and I write it down. The recording of patient is all of that. So that was my job. So, and we were a very rural fire department, and we were usually a good 20 minutes. Once we got them in the bus and on the roll, we were a good 20 minutes, give or take, depending on traffic, to the busting through the doors of the emergency room into triage. So there were a number of people over those 3 years. We must have scraped at least 200 to 300 to 400 people off the highway because we would because we were right. Our house was right in the zone of this two interstates, 91 and this other one. And they didn't have a clover leaf. The two highways just did an X across each other. So gigantic trucks would change into the other highway and roll right over little cars that they didn't even see coming the other way. So we went to that intersection at least 2 or 3 times a week. So 3 years, 2 or 3 times a week. It's quite a few bodies. So out of all those bodies, I would say a good 50 of them died in the bus. You see the whole thing about death. It's not like clink. It's not like in the movies. You kind of die. You kind of shut down. I mean, the physical harm is so traumatic that you die. Yes, that can happen. You get a bullet through the heart. But I've seen people get a bullet through the heart and still live. Anyway, so I've been around a number of people who've died, and once pretty much everyone, they didn't hear it, but we all kind of, well, this guy, unless God intervenes here, he's not going to make it. So I would be the one sitting in the back of the bus with him, talking to him. So how you feel? Once they don't feel pain, once they can't see, and then they see and hear things on the other side, and they start to, oh, there's Mom, there's Uncle Billy, and I says, how you feeling? Oh, I feel great. Oh man, it's summer. It's 4th of July. Oh, I love that corn, and they would be experiencing all these things they were loving, and that's when I knew that their death was going in the right. Oh, I got buffered. Are you guys still there? Anybody there? Okay, good. Thanks, Jane. So, yes, and you have the choice, but if you're not prepared, and that's what I would try and do with the folks that I was present when they passed over. I tried to prepare them and give them that choice. Say, hey, guy, you can go wherever you want to go. You don't have to listen and have anyone tell you to do anything. You can make the choice and do what you want. Go where you want to go. Be where you want to be. And I would just try to make them as comfortable. And then as their other when they couldn't hear anymore, when they couldn't hear me anymore, meaning I'd be asking them a question, they couldn't hear it, but they'd hear the voice on the other side, and they'd be talking to them, and they were no longer talking to me, but they were still talking, meaning they had breath. And the last thing that would leave them was their smell. And when they stopped smelling things, they would kind of just drift away. And they would stop talking, they would already be there, wherever they were going to go. And you could often tell just by the kind of responses their body were giving in the last, meaning as long as, if they kind of eased out and there was no real trauma, like the heart going up and down and freaking out, because that's your but if you assist them to be comfortable and have the choice where they're not scared
man, that's when you can go where you want to go, right? And you don't, you can go, but you have to realize that in this material universe, it's no matter what dimension you go, you're still kind of there, you know, and you are now, in that dimension of you're observing that dark side right now, right? And you're safe because they can't see you. You've come in the back doorway of the through the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and you're there. You're all there as the cadre is with you, the chorus is with you, and you are with physically the shock troops of love's co-creation, and all of your guides have come along. So got a lot of angels to protect your back. That's for sure. So, and everyone is invisible. So no one's given up the presence, and you're observing. So what have you gotten from this experience? Seeing all of those dark, evil things, right? They're not too scary. I mean, most of all, they're almost sad. You can have a pity and empathy, not so much that you want to be like them, but that you can feel their sorrow because they're acting this way because they feel rejected. What you want to do is go over there and give them a hug. Well, when you come back and when you go into your everyday and every way, you basically give all of those anxious moments, all the negative energy that you see swirling around you, a hug. You try to bring to them that best outcome. See it clearly. And so 3, you're coming back up into your sanctuary of your own choosing. You're walking over towards the bridge that goes from your sanctuary of your own choosing over the id into your Akashic record. And you are going into your Akashic record, and so are your guides. And you line up face to face, and you bow with grace and humility and thanks and turpitude. And then 2, you're walking through your imaginary mirror surrounded by photonic light, and you've been transformed. You've been transformed. After this night, you will no longer be that same person. You will no longer, you're still subject to the illusion. You're still, working through an avatar, but you're a lot more awake, right? And if in every day and every way, every moment of that day you take and being awake in love's co-creation, you will transform even more. So every time you step up, you will step up to do those 3 things. Doctor, do no harm. Don't get involved unless you can have a positive outcome and protect the innocent. And that you don't get involved unless you're going to learn something. You're not going to do the same thing over and over and over. You're not going to be habitual or repetitive like I can be when I drive a car. I'm trying to be more awake and not get any more speeding tickets, right? So that's where you are. And here we are, 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 54 seconds. So tell me what you saw, what you thought, what you felt, what you got out of tonight. Let's see, Sarah said, I saw colors in the dark, bright green, bright blue, yellow flecks flowing all around. Yep. And that is the envelope of transformation, Sarah. If you saw that, that's you were alchemically transforming certain elements of your consciousness, which is a good thing. Oh, here we are, 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 55 seconds. Like I said, at 2 hours, I think I will say, I'll see you tomorrow, unless we start on a truly enlightened chat. So if you guys got anything to say it soon. We got about 4 minutes before I start singing good night. Good night. Learn to do more emphatic towards situation. Yep. That's the best way to deal with a negative situation. Find that place that what I call, like in firefighting, when you're trying to open a door of a car or a stuck thing, you get a purchase, meaning you get your little crowbar in there, you pop the door open. Instead of getting angry or pissed off, you try to figure, and in jujitsu, it's all about geometry, right? And jujitsu of the soul is how to navigate, how to, just move that immovable force, not over, not down, just kind of out of the way so you can get by and do what needs to be done to have a positive, good outcome and to protect the innocent. More level-headed. Yep. And all you got to do is breathe in that 20%, because that extra prana slows you down. And that's what you do in martial arts. You slow everything down so you can look around and see it. In the comic books, the Flash. Everything's, when he starts moving fast, everything slows down. And love is, you can, when I worked as in the New York Housing Authority, I would meet guys on PCP, drunk out of their minds, just enraged because they had a bad day, and I would just give them love. Give everyone, the whole time, every day. I did that job for less than a year, but maybe 9, 10 months. And it was mostly in the, I kind of quit because my friend kind of grabbed me and took me out of there. And took me to a safer place because I had gotten shot. And I put myself in the middle of extraordinary violent situations where if I hadn't, people would have died. But I went in the middle, and everyone who was about to kill each other knew me, liked me, and all I did was tell them how much I loved them. I mean, this one time, I thought, buddy, I love you. I love you, and I love you, and just feel my love, and it stopped everybody from wanting to kill each other. So I did that 5 or 6 times, and I thought I was invincible. Wrong. I, stepped in front of a guy who was about to shoot another guy, and it was, no matter how much I told him I loved him, he was not going to shoot that. I mean, he was going to shoot that guy. So I thought, well, he's not going to shoot me. So if I stand in front of that gun, he won't shoot me. Well, he was already pulling that trigger when I stepped in front of that gun, and I got shot. And it was miraculous because, I was like, you shot me, and then I fell down. And I woke up in the emergency room, and the doctor said to me, you are the luckiest. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you got shot in your chest, and it was a through and through. It didn't hit a bone. It didn't hit an artery. It didn't hit an organ. It just kind of went through you. And we put like 3 stitches on either side of you. You're good to go. I said, what? Yeah.
because nothing. You have no internal. I don't know how, but you have no internal bleeding. I was like, anyway, I basically what I did do is my friend took me out of town, and we went to a nice resort where I just slept and ate resort food for 4 days, and I came back, and my boss said, "You got to stop doing that, Al." And he says, you know, and the first time I did it, he said, "You got to stop doing it." Second time I did it, you got to stop doing it. Third time, he said, we now have the best record in the New York Housing Authority police of less crime, less violence, less murders, less all of that. And I'm going to be made a captain, so I'm not going to tell you to stop it because you're like sending my career into the stratosphere. So if you die, we're going to give you. He said this. We're going to give you an inspector's funeral, which is where they get out the bagpipes and everybody. I mean, and the New York Police Department would be like marching behind, and I would go to the place where everyone gets mortalized. And because he says, I can't tell you to, I can tell you to stop, but I know you're not going to. And then I got shot. And so after that long weekend, I came back, and my partner, who really loved me, and I really loved her, and we had, platonic love because she had been a Green Beret. She could kill you. One time we went to court, and we, you have any weapons? And I was wearing shorts and a Hawaiian shirt and cowboy boots, and I said no weapons. And she goes, yes, and she was in the uniform. I was supposed to be in a uniform, but I wasn't. My dress was the way I dressed, and it worked out. Like I had a really good, our my lieutenant was and my sergeant were they realized what I was doing, and they said, well, this works pretty good, so keep doing it. They didn't say, oh, you have to wear a uniform, you gotta wear, they said, Al, we know we can't tell you what to do, so just keep doing a good job. Hey, you're doing great. We look great, so you keep doing it. And so, and my partner and everyone hated this girl because she was so hard edged, and she hated everyone. She just wanted to kill everything, and she had been a Green Beret, and she knew how to kill you 20 different ways. And we went to court one time, and they said, so you got any weapons? And she said, yes. And she had like 6 guns, 12 knives, a sword. She just kept unloading weapons. And the guy, I've been doing this 20 years. I've never seen anybody, tasers, mace. She had it all. And she took all out, and it was like, 100 pounds of weapons. And she was an amazingly attractive woman, but she was, a total butch, beyond lesbian, right? But we had a thing. She said, you're the best lesbian I know. And, but mostly, a couple of times we had a little fling, but that was mostly, she loved to dance. She loved to dress up sexy and taunt everyone. And she loved to take me to lesbian bars that she would hang out that were dance halls, and we dance all night long. And no one would dare say anything because she'd beat them. I mean, I saw this one woman say something snide, and she just walked over in red high heels this high, and this woman had a lumberjack, shirt on and jeans and big boots, and this girl was in a like mini sparkly mini skirt, low bust thing, and she kind of pulled her boys up and her thing up around her neck and went over and literally beat this person to a pulp. And then she said, just wait here. Came back with 2 drinks and we kept dancing. Now, everybody else except that stupid person would never say anything like that to her because that's what would happen. And that's what kind of, so we were the ultimate good and bad cop. And, so we walked through the projects on the Lower East Side. And there would be people who would visit who would say something snide to her, and she would literally, again, just club them. And I would say, just a minute, I would apologize. Why should I apologize? What's she gonna do? And she would just take that thing and whack him right across the head, break his jaw, and then throw him down a this thing of stairs, and the crime rate plummeted. We didn't stop anybody from doing it as long as they weren't hurting anybody or threatening the innocents, because that was another thing. She had a father that she came from you know, a place in Puerto Rico where her dad was a drunk and beat up all the kids. If she saw anyone like that, she didn't even need a qualm. She would just, and our superiors would let us do this. This was the, you know, late 80s. And it's kind of what it was. But we were the best of friends. We had the best of everything because we had a few little flings. We loved to dance with each other. We treated each other sweet and kind, but we were never going to be a thing. We were best of friends. But and we every time we wanted that little scratch, she didn't want to bother with a relationship, so she would, hey, let's go do it behind the dumpster. So that's what friendship is. That's what you can learn, right? And you don't have to be a stupid moron like me and get shot. That's when like I say, 80% of the time I am like Buddha. 20% I can be a moron, and I'm trying to shave that off. Maybe I'm to 6% moron. Not quite 20%. Dumpster lust, exactly, and that's exactly what it was. Yeah, don't mess with. And pretty much every woman I've ever been with would do something like that. I mean, this woman was trained like beyond belief, and my, you know, Aikido girlfriend that we had the, cave girls. I mean, she could beat, but she wasn't. My partner was GI Jane. But whereas my Aikido girlfriend, she was the cave. She was a cave girl. I mean, her hair. She had really curly hair, so she had dreads before anyone had dreads, and they weren't like she worked on her dreads. That's what her hair did, and she didn't give two hoots about it. She put it in a big ponytail, and it got long one time that if she turned around fast, she would knock people over with her bundle. So yes, pretty Jane Fire was another person. She was a really heavy metal punk musician who ran an art gallery in Soho. So she had this really fine art edge to her, but she also had this like total punk. But she didn't put you know safety pins in her cheek, but she would tell people what she thought. She was very good. She was right there. And all my girlfriends, they've always been, unless they left town or you know, if they were around me, they were still my friends. We'd still go out. We'd still, when I'd have the Friday night potluck dinners, they would come. So Jane met my both. No, didn't meet my partner, but met Cave Girl, and the Cave Girl got her to go to because Cave Girl's, Humbu was all about teaching women to protect themselves. So Jane had this great move where she had these like not high heel. Well, they were high heel boots, and but that was like from 007. The she had a metal tip to her boots, and she would kick the person. There's a place right in your shins that one of these. There's 8 places in your body where ganglia and nerves goes through, and if you punch that ganglia or push, and that's like the Vulcan death grip. You push those ganglias, you go into unbelievable pain. And the one in the shit, the ones in your arm, if you push them, it will debilitate you, and you won't move. But as soon as you let go, that goes away. There's one right up. just below your Adam's. There's a little place right here and a place up where Adam's apple is, if you have one. And there's another place where if you're going to do a tracheotomy, that's kind of where you push it. And there's a nerve right there. And if you hit it with a chop or hit it with two fingers, it basically can stop the person's heart. It's like one of the main parts of your vagus nerve, and it's like where your breath and your heart kind of get synced up. And if you hit that sucker, it can stop your heart. So I never did that one. The one on your arm is good enough for me because it's like, oh, okay, okay, okay. You just let go, and then they don't hurt anymore. Right? Whereas my cave girl, she taught Jane how to do this thing, kick the person right in the shin, right at this place. And if you do it just right, it it's like the person goes into an amazing they can't even stand, they fall down. It's so much pain, they often shit themselves, and they won't get up for another 10, 15, 20, half an hour. I mean, they can't. They're like so in pain that they just. So that was Jane's little move. She'd walk up to somebody and she was those steel-toed pointed boots. She'd get them right in that spot, and they would drop like a sack of potatoes. So I had these girlfriends who, and it was great because I never pissed them off. I always made them happy, and they were like, oh, they were so aggro against the rest of the universe that they were like, oh wow, we're home. Oh, So, and guys are such morons because that's all you gotta do. If you have a woman, you should thank your lucky stars. But most guys are such, well, why tell me what to do, bitch? No, 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 no. Because more and more women are being like my cave girlfriend, my partner, and Jane Fire. They will just kick your frigging butt. It's not like they're the weaker sex. They're not. They're actually the stronger sex. Okay, 2 hours, 12 minutes. And when we hit 22 seconds, I will say sweet dreams. That's enough stories for the night. Well, I hope I gave you enough food for thought. We'll try and do one in the morning, but definitely tomorrow evening. And I want to hear a little more chat from you guys about what you're thinking about. Because I want to, we're at a point where we kind of bring, more stuff to me, and we start the conversation, not with one of my stories, but with a parsing of, our little looking at what and how are we going to create this alternative aesthetic, right? Okay. So I love you guys. Sweet dreams. It's coming up on 22 seconds. Good night. Good night. Love you guys. Sweet, sweet dreams. Yeah, the shit look. That's exactly. The death touch. Yep. All the above. Yep. She had the meat look. Yep. Okay. I love you guys. Stay well. Be good. Have a good day tomorrow and a good night. And whatever part of the planet you are, be safe.